It hurts a lot when someone reveals a transgender person's previous name, the name they were given when they were born. Revealing the previous name without their consent is known today, a bit morbidly, as deadnaming. It's especially wounding should the deadnaming take place around a new group of friends, where there can be an atmosphere of starting over, where past identities were unknown. Deadnaming can happen by mistake, from ignorance, or as a deliberate attempt to deny a trans person any support. Once the deadnaming has happened, it can't be undone. And anxiety can come that others will start to say the dead name unconsciously or intentionally behind the trans person's back. It can feel like a dive into a mental health crisis. The booklets or online posts about the harm deadnaming causes are never read by the people who need them most. Deadnaming may sound like a modern problem only a small, marginalized group will be cursed by, but the ailments of our century can find echoes far back in the past. And so too, some extremely consoling things may be found in history, particularly that of Eastern philosophy. So, can Buddhism help trans folks that worry about deadnaming? Compassion, of course, comes to mind. If there's one common component within all mentally ill minds, it's the drastic denial of sympathy. It's no mystery as to why, too. Plenty of us grew up around nervous family, judgmental peers, media that terrorized, movies that mocked, cisgender norms that confined us. The word compassion in its Latin origin means to suffer with. Think of it as co-suffering, to downgrade the sense of loneliness. We might imagine our authentic trans self being compassionate toward the part of us that cannot go away in peace. The part that seems to live in the old memories or the hideous attacks of others. A better life will be one in which we have learned to react with kindness to ourselves when we're mistreated. We should learn to make compassion as unavoidable as suffering is for any visible trans life. Our chosen affirming name may be denied, but we don't need to deny ourselves some proper love and tenderness. Non-self refers to a Buddhist doctrine that the self is not continuous. The self is not permanent or unchanging. Those who are policing gender roles are fearfully clinging to an illusion of an assigned identity that's eternal. And yet, our cells, skin, hair, liver, teeth, skeleton, a lot of what makes us a person is constantly being replaced, remade, improved, changing from one state or condition to another. And so too, our name assigned at birth isn't permanent. The hormones within our blood aren't permanently determined. Our role in the family isn't unalterable. Remembering the illusion the human ego constitutes can be, if anything, a pleasing distraction from the transphobia. One day, the trans community could be seen as exemplary role models on how to gracefully cooperate with the unavoidable laws of the Dharma, constant change. Coming out as trans is a recognition of how healthy and necessary change can be, and change is also, even down to our biology, inescapable. People will transition if it makes them happier. The status of trans rights isn't permanent either. It can change in all types of wonderful ways with the right action. Another concept in Buddhism is impermanence. Essentially, all names are dead. There is only us, the person in this moment, the person who deserves a long hug in this realm of suffering. And we shouldn't be afraid to admit it. When we see the trans flag a Tibetan singing bowl, or perhaps rotting fruit, we should remember impermanence, the thing that will make us all forgotten, the great thing that will ultimately defeat all remembering. And while it's hard to imagine it now, the people who have heard our dead name might not think of it too much as time goes by, and we might enjoy some forgetting as well. While photographic memories often impress us, we may see that it's more impressive to learn how to forget. And if none of this works, remember, the people who made this video see who you really are. Our suggestions here are not meant to downplay the oppressive reality of dead naming. It sucks, for sure. It's okay to speak up and say how humiliating it feels. Ultimately, you don't have to get over it. You don't have to learn to live with it. You can be upset. It may help us, though, to trust that we can survive this. In the moment of the dead naming, it's hard to summon up any wisdom. Wisdom tends to be a later thing. Let's try to be in the present moment now, with our present name and identity. Perhaps we can turn our senses toward nature, allowing its chlorophyllous sympathy to embrace us. All words can disintegrate against the sound of cicadas or running water. We can return to the body we're in today. We can come back to who we are now. Not that person. Not that name.